it looks like, oh, let's hope it's coming through. Be awesome if somebody could say, hey, Noelle, I can see and hear you, because I am not. Okay. Looks like we're ready to go now. But I look grainy on my end, and I think it's because we're having some connection, some inclement weather in our area. So hopefully I'm coming through fine from what you can see. And if somebody could put in the comments like, hey, Noelle, I can see and hear you, that would be fantastic. So I just got back from an insurance trip to Cancun. Yay, it's incentive trip season. Hope you get to go on one too, though I know a lot of them were canceled. I was supposed to be going on another cruise this summer that got canceled and all those things. So a lot of things aren't happening this year the way they normally would. But I still got to be around more agents than I have been in a while physically in one place, because of COVID affecting things, not having as many conferences, boot camps, and all that. So it's a whole lot to absorb at once, and got to meet people in person that I've only, maybe seen their names on reports or things like that. And it was really good because people's agencies are growing. And but I also think that maybe because of COVID and not getting to be around people in person and get a lot of hands-on mentorship, like trips like that, a lot of good things happen because you might have a scheduled half-hour, 1-hour call with your mentor or something like that, and you might forget to ask something at that time. But when you're just spending oodles and oodles of time around people that are there and helping you with your business, things come to the top of your mind as you're conversing and doing things, or they see you responding to emails or phone calls or text messages from other agents. And so there were a few situations in particular that kind of stood out to me, because I think it's not unusual, some of the things that they're dealing with that you might be dealing with. And there was one particular couple that I spent some time with, meaning it's a husband and wife team, and they're both very involved. It's not just one person. I would say it's pretty evenly matched on who's doing the work. And they had just been given a whole bunch of recruits by their upline. Their upline said, hey, I'm really busy. I recruited a whole bunch of people, but I realized I don't really have time to work with them. And so is it okay if I hierarchy change them and move them underneath you? And they're like, yeah, totally. We'll work with them. And they have been. Like, they're very dedicated, and they're doing the best they can. And unfortunately for them, it wasn't so much that their upline didn't really have time to work with them. It's that their upline had already spent a certain amount of time working with these people, concluded that they're kind of duds, and just didn't want to tell the people, hey, I'm not going to work with you anymore. She moved them underneath these other people and decided to waste their time. And so, but they had seen it as like, wow, this major vote of confidence in this person that's upline from me. They gave me all these recruits. Yeah, we're going to really do our best. And they've been doing a really good job. But I would, if that ever happens to one of you guys, I would question that gift, because ideally, if your upline manager has been so successful and hired so many people and things like that, they really should have someone on staff, an agent mentor or something like that, that can handle all the recruits they're bringing on board. They shouldn't have to hierarchy change them to other people to get their recruits the support that is needed. So that should have been a red flag right there, as far as why would their upline be doing this. This brings us to something else that's used in multi-level marketing, which, though multi-level marketing often has emphasis on personal development and things like that, that can be really great. There's a huge reason why the tactics that are taught in multi-level marketing absolutely do not transfer over to growing your agency in insurance. And this is the tactic of stacking. Basically, you bring in recruits and you stack them underneath their other recruits. And the major reason for this is because in insurance, we have chargebacks. And when those downline agents get a chargeback, everybody's going to get a chargeback. That's going to happen. No matter how great you are, you're going to get a chargeback. The difference is that some people don't pay their chargebacks. And when a chargeback isn't paid, that debt does what we call roll up. It's going to roll up to the person above them. Whoever is next in the hierarchy is going to get that debt, and they are then going to be responsible for it. And then if they don't pay it, it rolls up to the next person all the way on up to the top of the hierarchy. And along the way, everybody that doesn't pay that debt, even if it wasn't you that wrote the policy, you're going to be placed on Vector, you're going to be sent to collections. It's really nasty. So the reason that this is so important to know when you have an upline that's stacking agents underneath you, and it might seem really nice that they're doing that, why you should be concerned is because with roll-ups, the more relationship you have with an agent, the more connection they have to you, the more likely they are to pay their debt. If they are mad at the upline that decided, hey, I hired you, but I don't want to deal with you, so I'm going to stick you underneath this other agent under there, unless that was a part of the agreement from the beginning and the person that they were stacked under has really been doing, getting them started, helping them out quite a lot and everything. If there's no relationship and that agent that has the chargeback feels resentment for the situation as a whole, how likely do you think they are to pay those chargebacks and to pay that debt? Not very likely. And this is where I see the majority of roll-ups and things happening, is when there's some kind of agent resentment, or they don't know and don't care about their upline, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, I'm walking away, they can deal with the debt. Nobody ever told me there was a chargeback. I was told I was going to get paid 120%, and I got paid 80% on this policy. Transparency in contracts is a big deal when you're hiring agents. So that's just part of being more effective, is being transparent with your contracts when you hire people. Some companies are not built on that. Some companies are built on promising the highest ever, and then it's up to the individual recruiters to let their agents that they're hiring know that, hey, you're about to be going and writing a final expense policy on somebody over 80 years old. By the way, did you know you're going to take a huge compensation, commission hit on that? And some recruiters are so new themselves that they won't even know that. And so how are they going to tell the new people? So as far as you're able, make sure that you're communicating those things to your agents. So yeah, stacking in general is a bad idea. And the saddest thing to me was these agents that had just had probably 10, 15 agents stacked underneath them. They didn't even know what a roll-up was. They were chargeback. They knew what chargebacks were, but they had no idea that even though they were maybe only going to make $50, maybe $100, on certain policies that get written as an override commission, they had no idea that if all of those downline agents ended up with chargebacks and didn't pay them, that would roll upward. And so clearly, if it wasn't profitable, nobody would hire agents. I mean, so there is money to be made in hiring and training agents. You just got to go into it with your eyes wide open and follow good practices when you're getting people started. And you're more likely, if you are paying, if people are paid fairly, if they have a fair compensation rate to where they can afford to be spending the gas to go out on appointments, or maybe they need to maintain office space and pay for marketing, whether that includes leads or maintaining a website. If they're earning enough commissions to pay for all of that, they're much likely to say, forget it, and just let the chargebacks come in and let the roll-ups go upline. They're much less likely if they are actually being compensated in a way that allows them to maintain their business and keep it growing. And so what I see a lot with business building, with people who are hiring agents, not just to sell, but hiring them and telling them, and you can grow a business, is that they're being told it's going to be your business, but they're not getting any clear teaching or coaching on how to actually run a business. And there's a lot of just encouragement. There's a lot of rich dad, poor dad talk about how, going into passive income, a lot of those things about the things that people want from a business, the passive income, the overrides, freedom to come and go as you please and everything. There's a lot of talk about that, but there's not a lot of talk of, and this is how you structure your business. This is how, since you want to have time for yourself and for your family, these are the things you do to ensure that you're going to have time. And some of those things are, when you're hiring people, are you telling them you're going to answer their phone 24 hours a day? And so I was talking about this with this couple, and they're like, well, Noelle, if you're not spending hours and hours and hours and hours on the phone with every agent, how do you develop that relationship that will keep them in your agency? And I said, well, if the only reason they're working with you is because they have a relationship with you, you're not really going to ever be able to hire very many agents, because everybody's going to want to talk to you 2 to 10 hours a week. I mean, I see people with agencies out there that seriously will talk to their agents and I'm talking about experienced agents, and actually some of the experienced agents, because there's this idea that a lot of companies do where you are at a lower commission rate because you don't have any experience. And so the more experience you get, the higher your commission rate will go. Now, some of that experience, they calculate it in terms of how much business you're issuing on a monthly basis, or how many agents you have and things like that. Different companies calculate it different ways. So, and then they increase your contract level as you go up. Many companies do this, not all. On the idea as you need less help because you have more experience. Well, in reality, the more experienced an agent is, I've found, and I've witnessed, not just in my agency, but in many others, the more experienced an agent is, the more demanding of your time they actually are. They expect you to pick up the phone right now. They expect you to pick up phone calls from their downline agents right now. And they want you to spend oodles and oodles and oodles and lots of time with them. Whereas brand new agents tend to be much more respectful of their upline's time and attention and expertise. You just don't see that with experienced agents as much. And so I don't hire people based on, and by the way, I'm going to spend every waking moment with you. So what I was teaching this couple is, you have to have something that people want to work with you for. So you're going to either be teaching them a skill, giving them good contracts, or giving them access to tools, or there has to be a value proposition there that benefits them beyond just, hey, I'm so great and I'll take your phone call all the time. Because the burnout is real. You will burn out because eventually you're going to have so many agents. It's not possible to spend that amount of time with each and every one. And I hope that makes sense. That should make sense. It just is simply, so they're teaching them, telling them you're going to have your own business, but making it a business that in no way, shape, or form can function without your constant involvement. So how do you ever take time off? How do you ever, a lot of people assume that people quit insurance after 5 years because they can't make sales. But a lot of people are in organizations that are encouraging team building, and so actually agents are quitting after before the 5-year mark because they're burnt out. They're trying to sell and they're trying to recruit at the same time, and they're supposed to be available all the time, and it's just too much. Their families get sick of it. Their families tell them, oh, would you please just go get a normal job? The first year was great, but you've never been able to manage to buy health insurance or something, and their family just says, move on, this isn't working. So what you can do is you can be very strategic on where you spend your time. Make it clear when you're onboarding agents about how the time commitment is going to work. Exactly how and when are you available to them? Is it going to be through one-on-one calls? Are you not going to be available to them whatsoever, and you're simply directing them now that you brought them on? Are you going to be directing them to some corporate office somewhere? Every company is a bit different. You just got to be clear about what you're doing from the beginning. Is it group training calls? Are you going to be doing individual? Are you going to be doing ride-alongs? That's a big deal. You got to let people know that ahead of time, because some people really expect it. And I'm just always very upfront with people that I don't do that. Well, no, I don't do that, and I will refer them to somebody that will. And I have many reasons for that. That's a whole other video. And so the next hurdle that people who are growing an agency experience are, wow, I've got this person and they're just really not doing anything. Maybe if I just keep calling them and offering help, I can get them started. I got to get them started. And you have anywhere from agents that are not selling anything to agents that are selling 5, 10, 20,000 a month. And so what some people focus on is the agents that have been with you for 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, that really haven't gotten started yet. And if you've been selling and you were selling regularly, I would just challenge you to ask yourself, did you get started because you wanted to get started? Or did you get started because you had an upline or somebody that called you every day and tried to motivate you to get started? Overwhelmingly, though there may be people that appreciated that they had somebody from their company or agency that called them and checked in on them, overwhelmingly, people that produce on a regular basis tell me, no, I just did it myself. They were there, I got some help with them as I needed it, but in general, I got myself started because I just really wanted to do it. And that's what you will find. People get ready and they start selling when they're ready to start selling. And so going and spending a lot of time and trying to force people into being ready is not the solution. And in particular, if you have an agent or possibly even a recruiter that you said they come to you for advice, you give them advice, they don't follow the advice. And this has been a pattern for a very long time, like over and over and over again. And that agent continues to be frustrated and just essentially not coachable. It's okay to have a heart-to-heart with them and say, hey, I believe in you and that you can do this. I wouldn't have hired you otherwise, but I really got to focus my time and attention on agents that want coaching from me. And so I've given you this advice several times, and it's the same advice several times. So what I'd like to see happen is that you go and you take action on that, on specifically what I've asked you to do, and then report back to me. If you don't want to follow my advice, that's fine. You don't have to. But this is where I see people have success. I've done this hundreds of times, or whatever number you're going to go out there, and I have to value my time, and I have to work with agents that are following my advice. Now, that depends on your coaching program and how it is, and you have to apply that to what works for you. But what I tend to see is we are psychologically drawn to paying attention to the problems. Like, oh, I've got this fire I got to put out over there. There's a problem over there that I got to take care of, and we want to go and fix those things. But a lot of this is just interpersonal in that these other agents that we're working with, they have their own stuff they're working through, their own stuff they've got to fix. And sometimes that process just can't be rushed. And so it's okay to let them work it out and be here when they're available to follow whatever coaching you have to offer them. And when you do it that way, you're going to be a lot happier. They may be a little more frustrated in the meantime, but sometimes they need to really work through that frustration and realize, hey, maybe I should follow their advice. They have a lot of experience with this. And that's okay. And then they'll come back to you when they're actually ready to move forward in an effective way. And you're going to be happier. You're going to have more time to do the things that you love to do for the reasons that you got into insurance, to have more flexibility, to spend more time on things that are actually making you money, whether that is making sales or focusing on agents that are receptive to your teaching. And when you coach them, you see that their agency grows. And of course, when you have a downline agent that you're helping and their agency grows, you are going to make more money off of that. So I tend to see more of these problems in people that were hired under the idea that they weren't really going to have to work if they would recruit other agents. And no, it's absolutely work, and there's risk involved. And so, but there is risk in any business. So if you really want to make this your business, approach it like a business. You need to have time in your schedule every day where you follow up on your emails. I highly recommend, if you want this to be a business, then you should have an assistant, and no, your corporate office does not count as your assistant. So if you want to be a business, you got to focus like a business and operate like a business. And that you're just overall going to be so much more satisfied. The agents that you bring on board are going to be more satisfied, and you'll just kind of start to see things start to click, and it will be a wonderful experience. So very cool. So that's my feedback at the major moment I had on this trip that I just came back from. I hope to see you on an insurance trip. That would be pretty cool. Run into each other on a cruise ship or on a beach somewhere. And I would love to hear what trips you took this year, and maybe which ones you have goals set for coming up. Maybe that will be my next video, is how to make sure that you earn that trip, because I know more and more carriers are posting their guidelines and things like that. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun in this next year. So I will talk to you very soon.